Hello everybody, Pinstripe here. Welcome to the Fortification update, day 1 patch for the Hogs of War community. This is of course a multiplayer update because when I finished Pins Mod version 5, I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave single player for a bit and turn my attention to multiplayer. So here we are on day 1, where there is just a whole host of things to break down, but if you don't feel like you're in the mood to watch this video and you just want to take a look at the patch yourself, go ahead and check out the update in the link in the description. That will take you to the Hogs of War website and it will list absolutely everything that you need to know for this first day. For those of you that are sticking around, we're going to be breaking down the main maps that have been changed or have had major improvements added to them, because this first day is primarily for the League, seeing as it is the existing ISO that is being edited here, but of course it is for the wider community as well, because you can play on League maps even if you don't play the game competitively. They are there for you to download at will. So starting off, we have Pitch Invasion, which now finally has slippery tiles and a whole host of other bits and pieces. So the main issue that we did have with Pitch Invasion was the fact that pigs could run anywhere on the map. You could make it from point A to point B very easily because you weren't stopped by the terrain. Now we finally have those slippery tiles added in, with the extra addition of a minefield going across the center of the football pitch, not going across the entire map, just across the football pitch itself, so that even if you do make it onto the pitch, you aren't guaranteed to make it across in one piece. And we also have the additional puddles that you see around the map. Those are no longer solid, so there are pockets of water that you can use to knock pigs in there as well. Elsewhere we have the lake, which for many was considered to be dead in the competitive space, but now we're seeing a minefield size reduction, so we have 40% more space on the map. And also, if your pigs do land in the lake, you are now guaranteed to not take mine damage, because they can safely swim to either side without detonating a mine now. So that is going to be huge. And even if we find that the lake still doesn't really work in a competitive setting, at least I tried, right? At least the mines have been reduced. There has been an attempt at a resolution there, and now it's just a case of seeing if it works. If the competitive scene agrees, if they feel like it is worthwhile, it can be added back into the map pool. But yeah, alongside all of these changes, of course, there will be constant testing done by those in the community that feel that certain things may need to be changed after this update has come out, which of course I am always open to and welcoming feedback wherever possible. Next up is Over the Top. This one's pretty straightforward. It has been swapped out for an older version of itself. So it is exactly the same map, except we now have a small river running through the center of the map. So players can no longer, well, you can still use that walkway, but of course you risk taking water damage along the way. You can see that there is some space to walk across. It's going to take you a little bit longer, but maybe it will help to improve Over the Top a little bit, because you know, the water damage provides a decent target for the likes of sappers and just, I guess, paratroopers as well, to try and nudge pigs into those areas. But we'll see. Over the Top has been perhaps one of the weaker maps in the league so far. I thought it would be a decent addition, and hopefully this will help to improve things going forward. Next up, the inner purist in me is screaming a little because Ice Flow has had a minefield reduction as well. This one may seem a little bit controversial because not everyone asked for the mines to be reduced, so think of this one as more of a test to see how it does, or if it feels like it improves anything. So we've had some big minefield removals and reductions on the high ground to allow there to be a little bit more space without the fear of being blown up on your first turn. So yeah, not much else to say about Ice Flow. Everything else remains the same on that map. It's just the mines. So yeah. And last but, well, certainly least, is Pig in Hell. Now this was the hardest map to try and improve or change or something. My first thinking was mines and just adding more explosives into there, because it's a blank slate. It does have slippery tiles, so we do have that going for it. It does have water there as well, but it just needed something else. It was kind of a carbon copy of Pitch Invasion, but with the addition of water, because again, it's another map where you can walk from point A to point B quite comfortably. So I tried adding mines in certain spots, but then that kind of messed up the spawns. So instead, I have added a minefield across the entire center, splitting it in two, so you can no longer run from one side to the other. Yes, it does put more strength into the likes of the paratroopers, but ultimately the aim, much like again Pitch Invasion, is to halt the player's progress and require a little bit more thought beforehand, and basically try and diversify the landscape a little bit and make it less straightforward for everybody, because it is these simpler maps that struggle the most and are perhaps the most mundane to observe because they follow the standard I guess lineup strategy of having at least a medic or a grenadier if you're feeling spicy. But yeah, I just wanted to spice things up a bit, and this kind of goes into the same category as Ice Flow in that it's there and we're going to be testing it as we go along. If we find it's not great, if we find there are problems, again further patches will be released, but that is it for the base changes of the maps themselves, and now onto the slightly minor bits. So going back to the lake for a moment, the guided missile crates that you can find that drop in over time, the quantity of those weapons available has been reduced from ×2 to a single ×1. So guided missiles are getting a major nerf in this patch because, well, they are everywhere and they do tend to dominate a lot of these maps, and I guess, again, the meta lineup, if you will, of how players start usually their first turn. Because if you look at the likes of the Lake, of Frostfight, of even One Way System, they all follow the same pattern of the guided missile being the centerpiece to collect and then go ahead and deal damage. So if we can reduce that a little bit and change it up to something else, or just again going with the quantity reduction, because following on from the Lake, Frostfight gets the same thing with the guided missiles being reduced to ×1. One Way System has the quantity reduced as well to ×1. So those missiles are still there, it's just in the long run they aren't going to be as effective. Elsewhere, Ridgeback has had a tiny reduction in the minefield size, specifically close to the water's edge. This was primarily done to prevent an insta-kill on the first turns due to the spawns in that area. So just a very slight tweak to the mines there. Chill Hill has had the airstrike crate removed, but I can wholeheartedly say that the F-Rain airstrike crate will still remain. And finally, Root Canal has had its jetpack crates removed, and I'm not going to spoil it. You guys can go ahead and find out what is in those crates, because that is kind of the centerpiece for this day one patch, in that a lot of the crates are going to be changing, mainly going into day 2, but you're going to be seeing a lot of the unused weapons that we don't really have in multiplayer, so the likes of the super shotgun, the shockwave, a lot of the healing items like the medical darts, the medical balls, and of course the anti-P mines and the suicide. For now though, that is it for the Fortification update. Day 1 is done, and day 2 is going to be bringing even more goodies to Hogs of War multiplayer. It is going to be absolutely huge tomorrow. There is so much to get through, so much to show off, and so much to talk about. It's super exciting, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it. In the meantime, don't forget to check out this day 1 patch, link in the description, check it out for yourself, and let me know your thoughts on everything in between. And in the meantime, I'll catch you guys tomorrow for day 2.
Oh, my brain hurts!
I'm going. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. There's destination going.